Chicken Provençal is a classic French dish. In its original form, it was simply chicken rubbed with garlic, herbs, and pepper, and roasted. In this age, we're used to much stronger flavors, not only from our exposure to spicy ethnic cuisines, but also commercial food products that are all boosted with potent artificial flavorings. People today find many old-world dishes lacking in flavor. There's just not enough oomph to wow people, especially paying customers in a restaurant, which is why you won't find chicken Provençal on hardly any restaurant menu today, even though it was very popular a few decades ago. To bring this recipe back to life, the trick was to boost the flavor without altering the expected taste, and that's exactly what I've done here.
We have the principal ingredients here. I have 90 grams of green grapes, seedless green grapes. I'm going to cut these in half in just a couple of minutes. The Madeira wine, the vinegar, sherry vinegar, rosemary, dried rosemary, grains of paradise. If you read the notes, you can substitute a few black peppercorns instead. This will be much better. Fresh sorrel leaves. You don't have to use these. It's really nice, though. It's going to be a really nice touch. It's going to add this kind of complex citrusy flavor you probably never tasted before, because I know sorrel is not very popular in general, but this is, and I rarely use it myself, rarely. But this is one application where this is going to be really good. Pea flour. Now, I also said you can substitute regular all-purpose white flour. This is made from roasted yellow peas that are ground up, and this will also add much better flavor in the final product, but I know it's also difficult to get, so substitute as you have to. This will still be good anyway. If you can get all of these exact ingredients, it's going to be phenomenal. Into a small saucepan, I've got the grapes, which I've already cut in half here off camera. I'm going to add the Madeira to that, and the sherry vinegar, and begin heating this to a simmer, and we're going to reduce it down to a glaze, very thick. Get it up to a simmer like this, but don't have a fierce boil going, because otherwise you'll blow off all the flavors, as explained in previous videos. This is going to take a little while. You're going to kind of push down on the grapes as they continue to cook. And in the meantime, while those grapes and vinegar and wine are reducing, you give a light crush to the grains of paradise. I'm going to add this in to the pea flour, along with a chiffonade of the sorrel. You can see it's like 2 or 3 tablespoons, and then you're going to mix this together just loosely for now. And we'll just set this off to the side until we're ready for it. Here's what it looks like after about 10 minutes. Crushing the grapes down a little bit as you stir it each time, once in a while. It's not thick enough yet, of course. It's still a lot of liquid in there. I'm going to continue reducing it. This is about 16 minutes. Now it's starting to get quite thick. There's not a lot of liquid left. Almost to that point. Almost. We're going to give it just another minute or two here. It's important to call it off before it actually dries out completely and begins to burn. The less moisture you have here, the easier it's going to be to dehydrate it the rest of the way, but you don't want to actually burn it. So I'm going to call this done. Now I'm going to add that pea flour that had the grains of paradise that were crushed and the sorrel. Add it to this. You can also turn off the heat, by the way, on the pan now. Stir this into this kind of lumpy, gluey mass here. You'll see what happens next. Okay, I've scraped it out into a baking sheet here, small one, and this lumpy, gloopy mess is going to go into the 90-degree Celsius oven with fan assist on. It's going to take about 2 hours to cook in all, but we're going to stir it about every 30 minutes. Here's what it looks like after the first 30 minutes. It's a lot of moisture. It's starting to dry out a little bit on the bottom, but obviously it's a long ways away from being dry yet. Give it a little stir like this, scrape it up, and back into the oven it goes. And here's what it looks like after another 30 minutes. Starting to dry out. Mix it around a little bit and put it back in the oven. Same routine. This is the third time. It's been drying now for an hour and a half in all. Scrape it up a little bit at the bottom. Now this is pretty hot. You might need to let it cool for a couple of minutes before you do this, but you need to get in here now with your fingers and actually break this up some. The more you do this, the better it'll be in the end. Break up any sticky lumps that you can. And then finally, you can break this up a little bit more after it cools to room temperature. Going to put this in electric spice mill. Crumbs here on the bottom to brush in, along with a teaspoon of coarse salt, the dried rosemary. Now we're going to grind this to a powder and store it in a glass jar like this. We're going to use quite a bit of this with the chicken, but obviously not all of it. Yeah, when you're ready to cook the chicken, we're going to use a healthy tablespoon of the seasoning mix. We're going to use more of this seasoning mix later. And about a tablespoon of flour. And mix this up a little bit first. Put all the chicken pieces in here and toss to try to cover these as best you can. I have a non-stick pan here. I'm going to put enough olive oil in it, good quality olive oil this time, Italian of course. Cover the bottom. We're going to cook these chicken legs in batches of two batches, that is, 4 at a time, so we don't overcrowd the pan. And you can always use a splatter guard. Turn the pieces over once in a while, like this, every few minutes, so you get even browning. You don't want any blackening on them. You want them brown, but not black. Like this. They're going to be cooked plenty more, so don't worry. Okay, I'm going to transfer these off now. Start the next batch. This is the time when you get the other ingredients ready. You got half a lemon, slice it up, remove any seeds that you see. You don't want seeds in the final dish. About 10 shallots, peeled, small ones. Head of garlic, broke up into cloves, peeled of course, and the vermouth. You can see my notes at the beginning of this video on the vermouth. And now we're ready. The chicken's been browned. We're ready to go on to the next stage. So I have returned the brown chicken pieces into the same bowl, and I'm going to sprinkle over a little bit more than a tablespoon of this same seasoning mix we made at the beginning. First we're going to coat it with this. And then we're going to use the French herb mix. I'm actually using a purchased one, a very rare thing for me to do. But in Russia, one of the key ingredients you need for this is savory. You can't buy savory. It doesn't exist fresh, it doesn't exist dried. The only way to get savory is in a packaged mix along with some other herbs. So I have to give in. If I could possibly do this, make my own herb mix for this, I would, but there's just no way to get savory. So here we have the chicken that's about to go into the pan, as you'll see in just a second. Into the roasting pan. The reason why it's a little bit moist here is because when I was cooking the chicken, I put the first batch of cooked chicken into this pan, so there's a little bit of moisture, a little bit of oil here in the bottom. I put the garlic and shallots in there. We're going to position this chicken. We're going to put the pieces of lemon in here. Just kind of divide it out evenly. Finally, the vermouth. And now, fresh cracked black pepper over the top. And it goes into the oven. Now this is after it's been in the oven for 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes, I'm going to tip the pan up to one edge here and use a turkey baster. Try to get some of the juices spread back over the top of each piece of chicken like this. And then after that, it's going to go back into the oven for the remaining time.
The second volume of my cookbook is now available through Amazon and other booksellers. It covers the YouTube recipes from the last 8 months with more in-depth information. I received requests for the procedures on all recipes, and I've listened to you. Every recipe has step-by-step directions, and of course there are recipes that aren't on YouTube. But this is not just a recipe book. Far from it, as you can see from some of the topics scrolling by here. I'm certain that anyone who watches my channel and any serious cook will find this book a treasury of useful and new information you won't find anywhere else. If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.